John Wick Chapter 2 is directed by Stahelski and is a sequel to the very good and very popular action movie John Wick, which was released in 2014. If you've seen my review of John Wick, which I did a while ago, you will know that I thoroughly enjoyed that movie and I thought it was one of the better action movies of recent years, which is why I was very excited for Chapter 2, besides the fact that I missed it in the cinema. But I have seen it and I have my thoughts together, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one as well. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it is still a very, very entertaining action movie. First of all, I love the cinematography in this movie. It's very stylish, and I do think it's a lot more vibrant than the first movie, because there are certain colours in certain scenes that just pop a lot more than they did in the first movie. It's a lot more colourful and it's a lot more slicker and stylish to look at, which definitely makes the movie look nicer and make the action scenes more enjoyable. And I've got to say, the action scenes in this movie are just incredible. The camera work in those fight scenes are just so smooth, and you can tell what is happening, and you can tell that it's actually Keanu Reeves fighting in that fight scene. There's no shaky cam or anything. You can tell who is fighting who, and it's just so nice to look at. And there's so many incredible moments throughout this movie, from the opening car chase to the end climax fight, which takes place in a mirror maze, which is just absolutely amazing and are easily some of the most memorable moments of the movie. And I've got to say, even though I've seen quite a few movies have their finale take place in a mirror maze, the way John Wick Chapter 2 goes about that, it does it in such a unique way that makes it much better than, say, the one that's in The Guest or others that I've seen. Just the combination of the stunt work and the camera movements in that scene alone make it an instant classic, and there are some moments in that scene that I honestly did not know how they filmed it, which makes it unique to this film and in the best way possible. The acting in the movie is also very good. Like I said in my review for the first movie, I think John Wick was the best performance I'd ever seen from Keanu Reeves, and here he just does it again. He knocks it out of the park and gives, I personally think, a better performance than he did in the first movie. It feels real. You understand the emotion and you understand the reasons why he's there doing the job that he has to do, and it just makes his character more relatable, and you really do feel sorry for him in this movie. Needless to say, you felt sorry for him in the last one as well. I really liked Ian McShane's character as well. He's reprising his role from the first movie. I thought he was very good, and he has a lot more to do in this movie as well. Laurence Fishburne was also very good. He's not in the movie that much, and at times he can be a bit over the top, but it's nice to see him and Keanu Reeves working together again. And for the most part, I thought, for what his character was trying to be, I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought the villain in this movie was pretty good as well, even though I do prefer the one from the first movie, because he was a much stronger, better villain, and a much more well-rounded one as well. But this one I did think was very good as well. Especially for the sake of the plot, I thought he did the best possible job they could have done for a villain. Also, just before I forget, rest in peace Mikael Nyqvist. He will be sorely missed. If you don't know who he is, he actually played the bad guy in the first John Wick movie, as well as the bad guy in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. Yeah, he's gone way too soon, and he will be missed because he was an actor I actually quite liked. And this kind of leads into another thing which I absolutely loved about this movie, and it was something that I loved in the first one, which was the sense that this world that John Wick is a part of assassins and hitmen, feels like an actual underground world that could happen in this world today. And the best thing they do in this movie is expand on that in every possible way to make it as huge as possible. Like, there are some moments in this movie where you just have to kind of take in how huge this organisation and underground world is. and I'm really glad they expanded upon that, because that was one of the better elements of the first movie. Now, unfortunately, there are a few nitpicks I have with the movie. They're nothing too bad that's going to detract from me enjoying the movie, because, don't get me wrong, I thoroughly loved this movie. But there are just a couple of problems that I found that unfortunately just bugged me as the movie went on. Like I said, the first one was that the villain I don't think was as strong as the guy from the first movie, but he does work for the sake of the plot of this movie. Another problem that I had is the fact that the motivation for John Wick coming back into business I don't think is as strong as it was in the first movie. In the first movie, it's a very personal reason as to why he's getting back into this business again. In this movie, he just kind of has to. And I don't think it packs as much emotional weight as it should have done than the first movie, which is kind of a shame. Unfortunately, my biggest nitpick with this movie is regarding the ending. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers or what happens in the movie, but all I will say is that towards the end of the movie, a certain scene happens, which pretty much wraps up the whole main plot of John Wick Chapter 2. And it's at that point where your mind is thinking, okay, this is a perfect place to end it. But then the movie carries on for what feels like another 10 or so minutes, and I completely get why it's there. But it just feels a bit half-assed compared to the rest of the movie, because that last 10 or so minutes is the most obvious setup for a sequel I've ever seen. And don't get me wrong, I would love to see John Wick Chapter 3. If anything, John Wick is the one franchise at the moment that is happening that I would love to see more of. But it's just the way they went about setting up a sequel could have been handled a lot better, and that last 10 or so minutes just kind of felt a bit out of place and just kind of didn't work with me. If they cut it off at the point that I said it should have, then it would have been fine. Apart from that though, I had a ton of fun with John Wick Chapter 2. I'm going to give it the same grade that I gave the first movie, which is a 9 out of 10. And yeah, if you haven't seen this movie or the first one, and you're a fan of action movies, you really need to change that, because these John Wick movies just keep getting better and better, and I feel that they are some of the best action movies coming out today. So guys, that was my review of John Wick Chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed the video, because if you did, you can give it a like, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.